there, it's Allison, and today on Thinking Outside the Box, I'm going to show you how I created these color shifting pendants and cabochons. The cabochons can be used to create gorgeous earrings. Look at these rich and sparkly colors. It's just like magic how they shift, depending on the lighting and the angle that you view them. Dots and Swirls are just some of my favorite designs to work with. I am so in love with these pigments, and I know that you will be too. I'm going to set up with all the supplies needed while you enjoy the rest of this color shifting goodness. Supplies needed to create this project are some black polymer clay, and I used Primo. You're going to need some cutters of your choice, and these were just some of the cutters that I used. I used stencils. You can use silk screens, but I ended up using stencils for this project. And you can use any stencils that you have on hand, but I use these here. These are swirls, and I will have links to where I purchased these from. And these are the dots or bubbles, and these are more swirls that I used. You're going to need some paintbrushes, and the star of the show is from a shop, a wonderful Etsy shop, and it's called Pearl Pleasures, and they have the most wonderful sparkly pigments and glitters and all sorts of goodies there. And this was something newly listed in the shop. I check all the time because I'm always looking for color shifting and glittery type things that I can use with my clay. And these particular pigments are also called Chameleon pigments, and they color shift in 2 colors, and you can get them in a bundle or you can buy them separately. And I will have a link to the shop as well as a coupon code. I spoke with the owner of the shop, and he offered to offer anybody watching this video a 10% off on all of the color shift except for the intense color shift. That we will have at a discount at a later date when I get my hands on those and get to play with them. So for right now, on all of the color shifts except for the intense, with the coupon code that I give you, it will be 10% off. That coupon code will be in the description below this video, as well as a link to the shop. So you're going to need those. Now, I do want to quickly go over these colors, these pigments that I purchased, these color shifting beauties. For people who have worked with color shifting pigments, like the Born Pretty, and then there's, there's other ones out there too, Pearl X, Rhonda Jones has a bunch of the interference color pigments in her shop. A lot of them are white, and when you put them on black clay, they come out really vibrant and you can see their color. Well, it's hard to actually see the color until you put it on black clay. Well, I'm here to tell you, these all have color to them, but they are not really the color that comes out on the black clay. They look pretty much totally different, with the exception of the Safari, which is the gold. They don't really look like their powder. Their powder all has color, but you see this is pink, but it's really blue, which does a color shift into pink. Or like more of a I would say a reddish pink. So you really want to do, I transferred these to jars, and then I just took some black clay, cut it out with a circle cutter, small circle cutter, put the pigment on it, baked it in the oven, glued it to the top of these little jars, and then I resin coated the top of them to protect the pigments. You do need something after you create with these and you bake your clay and then you make your piece. You're going to want to either protect it with a resin or UV resin or varathane or something just to stop those powders from rubbing off. So, you know, they're not totally permanent once you bake. But you're going to want to do this, because I didn't do this at first and I started getting really freaking confused on what was what and what it did and all of that, because, you know, when you look at this at an angle, you know, you can see the color shifting to it. So you definitely want to somehow label your jars, because your powder is not going to look the same once you put it on clay. When you put it on white clay, these literally look brown. They really don't have any color to them at all. It is just the weirdest stuff that I've worked with so far. I mean, I'm used to being confused with the white, but even the white, you can kind of see what color it's going to be. And when you put it on white, it doesn't turn like a brownish or a rosy color. So I don't know what's up with that, but I do know that they work perfectly on black clay. So keep that in mind if you want to go ahead and purchase these. So I'm going to go ahead and roll out my clay, get set up with my stencils, and show you how I created the pendants and the cabochons, and then I'll show you a couple extras that I created that I didn't have in the beginning. But I did want to say, on a personal note, I want to thank every one of you that has given me well wishes and prayers and good vibes and just wonderful messages about our kitty Alex. She is actually in surgery right now as I'm doing this tutorial. That's how I got a chance to do this. I've been caring for her for about the last week and a half. She was attacked by a coyote, and she's very lucky that she survived. And luckily it happened right outside of our bedroom window where my husband could get out there quickly and stop the nonsense that was going on. She had a lot of bite marks to her. She had a partially collapsed lung and a puncture wound to the abdomen, which resulted in a pretty bad hernia. So we wanted to get that taken care of for her before that resulted in any other, you know, more serious things that could happen down the line with a hernia, just like with people. So I want to thank you all for your patience and your kindness and your love. I am just so grateful for all of you. So enough of that. I know a lot of people don't like personal stuff in the tutorials, but I really wanted to get that out because y'all are like family and I really appreciate you. So I'm going to go ahead and set up and I will be back. All right, so we're going to start with this swirl, which is from how I created this pendant. And in this pendant, I used the Gaia and the Indigo Star. And so I only used 2 of the pigments in that pendant. Now, so you're just going to take your stencil. And what I love about these stencils from Joggles, these are 3x4 inch ATC, like artist trading card stencils. A lot of people in the, what's the word for it? Come on, Alison. My brain's a little frazzled today. In the scrapbooking world, they use these for artist trading cards. Well, I love them because they're perfect size for jewelry and they have a bunch to choose from and they're very inexpensive. So you're just going to go ahead and lay that onto your clay. And let's see, I'm going to do it this way because I have a seam over here. And you just want to press lightly. And I know a lot of you have already done this. If you haven't, that's kind of why I'm going to go over this process. I could have just said put the stencil on there, brush your, I'm not going to do that. So I am going to probably use different colors this time, but that one I just used 2. And I think we are going to go, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to pick one. This is I used that in that one. This is Nereus, and I really love this color. It's like a green that shifts to a really pretty, like a purple, a teal and a purple. And all I do is just put a little bit on my brush. And for this particular one, I just kind of went in the middle of all the swirls. And I used way too much there. A very little bit goes a long way. I was a little heavy-handed there, so we'll borrow from this to work on the others. But you really don't need much at all. And I'm just kind of putting it wherever I want it, and it's wherever you're going to want it. So I just chose to kind of put it in the middle of my little swirlies. All right, so we're done with that one. And because this is kind of a green and a teal, I'm going to go with more of the purple and the red, and that's the Indigo Star. And see how sparkly that is? I love it. And you see what color it is here, but once we put it onto the black clay, it like turns blue or purple, which is really cool. And now I'm just going to put that on the rest. And make sure I've got it all because I'm at an angle where I can't really see it. And it looks like that's it. All right, what I like to do once I do that is just take a really soft, long bristled brush and just kind of go over and kind of fluff off any extra. Because when you pull the stencil up, you don't, you want your black to stay black that's underneath there. So I just kind of brush it off like that. And then you go ahead and pull your stencil up. And voila. Look at that. Is that not gorgeous? Oh, I love these pigments. And at this point, you just take whatever cutter you want and you choose a place on your stencil or your clay where you would like to cut out. And I think we'll go with right there. And this is where I like to take my acrylic block, which is gone. Don't know what I did with it. And normally I would use it, but you don't need one. I just like to use it because it's helpful. But you go ahead and push down on that cutter. I just give it a little wiggle and a jiggle. And you can use that extra veneer up before you pull this up. I wouldn't waste it, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to go ahead and pull this off. Then you are going to pull your middle part up. And for that, I just use a little X-Acto knife. Oops, we got some of that on there. I just use an X-Acto knife, get up under there and pull it up. You can clean your edges up at this point, or you can just throw it in the oven and clean up your edges after bake. I would put this in the oven at 275 for 60 minutes, because we're not doing any more baking to this. After this, we're just going to go ahead and resin it. But yeah, 275 for 30 minutes. And I'm going to go ahead and set up for the next one, and I'll be back. Okay, for this next one, I'm going to show you how I created this pendant here. And that is using the bubbles or the dot stencil. And what if I told you, and I know a lot of people who deal with mica powders, you know that you cannot layer them. They're not going to stick to each other. Once you put mica on a clay, that's it. That's your color. That's what you're going with. Well, I'm here to tell you I was pleasantly surprised with these micas, because I just started playing around with this and put a color down, picked the stencil up, moved it around, put another color down, picked the stencil up, moved it around, I layered up to 4 on top of each other or overlapping each other. And it worked. I mean, you saw it in the dot pendant, and I'll show you here on this one you saw in the beginning. This is all layering of a stencil. And on this one, this is the stencil that I used. And I just picked it up and moved it around and just kept adding color to it. And the gold, since it's on the top, was the last one I did. But it works. It's absolutely amazing. And that's another reason I love these pigments. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I did that. And let's see, we will start with, I think we'll end with gold on this one. And we'll put a little bit of the aurora in there and some of the lunar storm and Nereus. All right, so I think we'll start with Nereus, which is a pretty green. And basically all I did was just go over each and every circle. And because I'm only going to use the circle cutter, I'm not going to do the whole stencil. I'm just going to do in the area that I know I'm going to cut. And then that way I'm not wasting my powders. So just a big enough area that you know you're going to use. And again, what I like to do before I move on to the next powder is go ahead and brush off any excess, because we are going to lift this stencil and we're going to move it. I mean, that's gorgeous right there, all by itself. That is just some really, really pretty stuff there. All right, so now I'm just going to move my stencil around wherever I want it to go. So let's see. I think we'll go here. And then just lightly tap it down. And that exposed clay will help it to stick. So I think my next color is going to be the Aurora. And just dip a little in there and just start moving it around. And what this will do is you'll see the other color peeking through, but it also covers it. I mean, it's transparent. so you can see the other color peeking through. All right. I'm going to go ahead and brush that lightly to get any excess off. Pick up my stencil, and now we're going to add Lunar Storm. So I'll move my stencil again to wherever I want it. Lightly tap it down. And now I'm going to add my Lunar Storm, which is like a blue. Brush off any excess. We're getting really busy there. All right, and I'm going to end it with gold, just for a final touch. The first one I did, I only layered 3, so this will be interesting to see how this comes out. Just a busy dot pattern here. But I do love the fact that you can put these over each other, which I think is totally awesome. All right. Do our last brushing off. Pick up our stencil and look at that. That's cool. That just glows. All right, so then you just pick out a spot that you like, and a lot of times I like to turn it and see what the best shift is. Because certain angles, it's, you know, it's different. So you just kind of turn it around and see which gives you the best shift. And I think I like this way. So you just pick a spot on there that you like the best. And I think we'll go right there. Go ahead and push your cutter down. Give it a little twist and a little wiggle. Pull up your middle part. And you can clean your edges up now, or you can wait till after bake. But that's really gonna look cool after it's baked and resined. And you'll really, once I put the resin on, the colors just really pop. All right, I am not going to, this is going to be a condensed video because I did get the call that Alex did well, and I can go pick her up in a little while. So thank you all for your prayers and well wishes again. I appreciate that. If you want to see how I resined these pieces, let me zoom back out a little. If you want to see how I resined these, I will also link my resin, my UV resin tutorial underneath this video. I'm trying to keep these tutorials shorter, so if it's things that I've already done, I really don't want to go over them again. So that will be linked below if you want to see how I do my resin. And I did want to show you a couple more things that I had shown a bunch of cutters in the beginning. And these here were created using this cutter. So this would make a beautiful pendant with matching earrings. And those were done with that. And this cutter here, along with that, here's a pendant, and you can make beautiful matching earrings to go with that. And I also will have a link to the cutter that I used for these cabochons. These, you drill a hole at the top and they will make gorgeous dangle earrings. So I'll go ahead and put those links down below for you. Just to remind you, these are available at Pearl Pleasures on Etsy. That's a wonderful Etsy shop. It's always super fast shipping, based out of the USA, and great communication, wonderful seller. Use this coupon code TOTB, which stands for Thinking Outside the Box. So TOTB 2019, and you'll get 10% off of all of the color shifts except for the intense color shifts. I hope that you found this tutorial helpful and useful. I hope it inspires you, and I'm glad that I could get the time shorter, but not under the circumstances. So I want to thank you all for joining me, and I will be back next Tuesday, Alex permitting, with another tutorial. Have a great weekend. Actually, it'll probably be next Friday, but it could be Tuesday. But thanks everybody for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a nice comment below. Love you all. Bye.